All right, welcome back to another episode of Trip Report. Today I have my buddy Will. I met Will through Veterans Walk and Talk. It was an interesting experience with my first time going to the Walk and Talk because I'm still a bit of introvert at heart, and getting into an organization like that where I showed up and it was all new people that I didn't know, and everybody kind of already had their little cliques and everything. So for me, I was kind of standing on the outskirts and looking for, who's my in, who's the person I talk to. And Will just had this energy about him that was very inviting, and I think he was one of the first people I talked to there, and we just hit it off right out the gate. And I was looking forward to every time that I went to future walk and talks and saw him there. So Will, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's sweet for you to say that.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt that same way. Like, who is this tall, beautiful man over here?
So before we even get started, that being said, how did you find Veteran Walk and Talk?
I was looking for help. When I got out of the military, I had issues with sleep, depression. I was severely overweight. I was freshly divorced. I was just going through all the things. I was moving out into the middle of nowhere and living for a year. I was using my GI Bill to go to all these different schools and classes. And I never found my footing. I never found secure in anything. And so I came across them on Instagram. And I think I followed Veterans Walk and Talk for like a year before I finally had the nuts to like, man, I'm going to join them. But that was really it. It's like, I need help. I feel lost. I feel like I'm just blowing in the wind. No real direction, no real purpose, no connection, no community, no team. And so I was just longing for that. And so that's what really pushed me to connect with Veterans Walk and Talk. But I was terrified because I'd never done anything with plant-based medicine or psychedelics or anything. I'd dabbled in cannabis, and that was about it. And so I just never pulled the trigger until one day I just did. I was like, all right, let's go check it out. And that was it. That was it from there.
Yeah, that to me is another prime example. I think I've said it on here before, but where I love the quote that you don't find psychedelics, they find you when you're ready. And that's a prime example of that situation.
Yeah, I was ready. I was looking for it. I was aware that I just needed help. I needed to do something different because what I was doing wasn't working.
And what was your military history?
So I was an Air Force veteran. They call it cyber transport, but essentially we would go out into the middle of nowhere and set up comms and satellite shots and all that stuff. And I deployed to Kirkuk, northern Iraq in 2011 to shut down the bases. And that was really, I think, the beginning of a lot of issues for me because they shot at us every single day there. I mean, I got there. I was like, I'm in the Air Force. I'm not supposed to be here. But we were there with the Army guys. We're doing comms and helping out and, monitoring airspaces. But it was gnarly out there and it wasn't what I expected. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't thinking, oh shit, they're going to shoot rockets at us like 6 times a day and hit our facilities. And it definitely changed the way that my military career went. Because when I got back, I was like, oh man, I almost died a zillion times, and the feeling and the jumpiness and the PTSD associated with that. And it was enough for me to I don't think I want to go back, and I think I'm out. Like, I don't want to do this, which was interesting too, because I promoted really quick. I won the awards and the leadership things. And so when I left, they're like, what, you're a guy, you're the guy, you're the leadership of the future. I was like, no, I don't want that. So yeah, I did almost 8 years in the Air Force. Spent most of that time in Italy, in Aviano, Italy. That was pretty much it.
No, I love that you brought that up because it's one thing when you have these guys that sign up for it, that are O311s, that are grunts. They're like, I'm going out there to kick down doors and take
super thankful
out.
for those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what they're willing to do. But yeah. I'm in the same boat. You know what I mean? I almost feel like I have imposter syndrome because it's like I was in the air wing. I didn't sign up for this, but yet I find myself running a portion of a prison in Fallujah, and same thing, getting shot at, rockets, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. And people argue, oh, you did. You joined the military. Right. Every Marine's a rifleman. I was like, no. When they told me that in boot camp, every Marine's a rifleman, I said, I'm a mechanic. Sorry, that's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And they're like, when shit hits the fan, you're a rifleman. Like, if somebody gets on that base, you have to fight back. And I was like, but I don't want to do that. Right. I just want to turn wrenches.
Right.
So it's great to hear you say that because, like I said, it's hard for me to feel like I have imposter syndrome whenever I hear people say, it's great. I heard somebody tell me the other day, I don't identify with PTSD. And I never did. You know what I mean? I hated when somebody gave me that because I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with me. And when you hear about a Navy SEAL or a fighter pilot or an O311 guy have PTSD, you can understand it. But
Right.
it's often people feel, or like other people are written off and they're like, oh, you have PTSD. What did you do in the military?
Right.
And it's tough. And it's like, it's good to be able to hear other veterans talk about this as well.
Yeah, I think one of my most clear shitty memories of downrange was day one. We just got there and we're living in these like little like tinfoil buildings, and you hear the alarms go off and incoming. I was like, oh shit, this is very real. And I remember I was in bed and I put a pillow over my head like that was gonna do something, right? It's like, what is that gonna do? Like if it comes, it's gonna hit, and this pillow isn't gonna help. And that feeling of like helplessness and like, oh shit, death is real, and it's not in theory, like it's happening right now. There's rockets coming right now. Like, holy shit, this is crazy. And it hit maybe like 4 feet outside of where I was living. So I felt the blast and all the rocks hit the shed. And that was day one. I was like, oh, this sucks.
Scary shit.
It's super scary. Super scary. And there's no basic training for that, or there's no book you could pick up. Like, here's how you're going to feel when rockets are coming. It's just the feeling of death is real and life is precious and shit, we're here. Like we have stuff to do, regardless of how I feel, I still had to wake up and do the mission. So it's one of those things I wasn't expecting.
Right. Now at the first walk and talk, I'd heard Colin bring it up first, talking about the native ceremony, and he explained that they were doing really high doses of mushrooms, like 15 grams, something like that. And it just sounded so crazy to me. Honestly, I didn't have much interest in it. I was already kind of had like some weird encounters with mushrooms to where I was on the fence about even doing them again. And when he said that he was doing that high of a dose, I was like, shit, I don't know about that. But then I talked to you and you said, I'm signed up. I'm ready to go for it.
Yeah.
So let's just talk through it. What prior to that, did you have any decent dose psychedelic experience, or was it just micro?
Zero? Yeah. Prior to that, with Colin, it was just microdosing.
Okay.
And even in that, I was like, wow, my thoughts feel warm. My every day to day is just a little bit warmer. Like I definitely noticed the difference in my thoughts, I think, was the biggest one for me with microdosing. And so when he told me this, I didn't know anything about psychedelics or mushrooms. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Cause I was so willing. Like I was so willing to I want to do something different. The shit I'm doing, again, I know I said it earlier, but it's like nothing's working for me. And I feel like shit all the time. I'm angry. I'm a father of 2 at this point. It's like, I know I'm not showing up as I could be. And that's because I had all my shit in the way, And so when he's like, yeah, we're doing this thing and you're invited, I was like, dude, I will do anything, And I really had no concept of what it was I was signing up for. And I tell people like, whoa, 15 grams, that's crazy. I was like, I didn't know. Let's try it.
Literally diving in the deep end.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk me through it.
Oh, wow. So, huge shout out to Colin Wells and Veterans Walk and Talk, and Shane Nordy from the Church of People and Creator Mother Earth. Like, he opened up his doors to the veterans, and, we went out to his home and he opened up his home. And for me, it was one that felt special, because growing up, I felt like the Native communities, like that's their thing, I had no access to them, or to the reservations. And so that felt really special. Like, wow, this guy's opening not only his home, but like his culture, his people, his beliefs, his history, to strangers. So that by itself is like, wow, this is really special. But that day, the morning before the ceremony started that evening, it's a lot of preparation. And that is really special. It's a lot of thoughtfulness. We went up to Palomar Mountain and we collected male and female cedar fronds, which I didn't really understand what for yet. We went down to the river and we collected grandpas, which are like these rocks in the river, for the sweat ceremonies. We collected sage. We had tobacco, and every step of the way was very purposeful. Especially if you watch Shane, the way he does it, he doesn't just go up and cut the tree fronds. No, he goes up. He'll put tobacco on the tree. He'll put his hand on the tree. He'll pray to the tree. He'll say thank you to the tree. And to witness someone living like that is very eye-opening. It's like, wow, this is special. We see a tree all day. I've never stopped to say thank you to the tree before. Here's this man, he does it every day. So that was really special to see that. And then once we got, all the things for ceremony, we went back down and we built what's called a Wamkish tent, which is essentially an open air tent. And we put canvas all the way around these wooden posts. Then we start taking firewood into the Wamkish. We take the cedar fronds into the Wamkish, all the things. And then we have dinner. one last community meal, and you can feel everyone's like, oh, once the sun goes down, like we're going in there. And, I'm eating my food, but I'm at this point, I'm like, oh shit, this feels scary. Not because of I'm scared, but I hear other people talking about like, this is so crazy. And, I'm like, I don't know anything, but now these guys are kind of rubbing off on me a little bit, like how intense this thing that we're going to go do is. And when it was time to go in, I didn't go in. Colin was like, you all right? And I'm shaking. I'm not going in. I don't want to go in at this point. And Vince was like, hey brother, it's going to be okay. Just take your seat. And so, I finally went in there. I took my seat. Everyone else, sits in a circle around the fire. We light the fire, and then Shane kind of just takes it from there. A lot of prayer to open up the ceremony. And I grew up Catholic, and prayer, I've never heard prayer like this. This is like praying to Mother Earth, to Creator. It's praying for the brothers. It's praying for the sisters, the fathers, the mothers. It's prayers that are just so fucking beautiful, like so tangible, things you can touch, not like some saint that I've never seen before, like these, like I know who the mothers are. Yeah, I'll pray for the mothers, and then he goes around and he gives you the mushroom body, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's two big handfuls.
Well, that being said, did everybody take the same dose? How did that work?
So I believe everyone took the same amount, but I know I feel like Shane kind of feels out where you're at, and kind of, that's just my experience. I may be totally off on that, but it felt like he kind of knew what you needed, and he even asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to go all the way? I was like, yeah, like I'm already here. I already almost shit my pants. Let's just do this, so it looked like everyone was kind of on the same boat. And you look down, you're like, really? We're going to eat all of that? Like, that's insane. But you do. And I did. You eat the mushroom body. We had some juice to kind of wash it all down. Because I don't know if you've ever had just mushrooms. They're all right. They're not my favorite thing to eat by themselves. But the juice helps. And then you just sit and you pray. And for me, I'm eating them and like, all right, let's sit at this fire and just start praying. And again, they're just beautiful prayers. And then for me, I just remember insanity happening. Just everything all at once. The fire's hot. I've never felt my body like this. I'm starting to like almost lose my mind. It felt like it was just so much. It was so much input happening. It's hot. My thoughts. Fuck, it's hot. And just everything is just all at once happening. And there's one thing that I remember Colin told me. He's like, hey, when you start losing it, the fire's right in front of you. Just look at the fire. Like, let that fire like ground you. Let that fire anchor you. And that shit worked. I mean, it really did, because I feel like I was losing myself completely. And that's not a good feeling to have. So I just started looking at that fire, and I'm hearing Shane pray, and I can hear the prayers, but I can also feel the fire and like the comfort of it. The raw fire has been part of humanity since forever. And I could feel like it was like almost tapping into like that primal ancestor comfort. Like, man, even though I took all this and all these things are about to come my way, this fire's here and it's not going anywhere. And there was a lot of comfort in that, and just having that fire there. But then it was so much. So much. The big things for me is, I had a lot of friends that took their own lives in the military and outside of the military. And that was something that I was holding on to very dearly and very close to my heart. I would, cry all the time, like, shit, what could I have done? What could I have said? Why wasn't I a better friend? Why didn't I reach out more? Why didn't I call more? So a lot of guilt there. And so one of my biggest memories from the Wamkish was seeing them. I saw their spirits. I saw their, I call it space dust. I felt them. They were right there. And you couldn't tell me they weren't. They were there. And their message to me was like, hey, we're fine. We see you. We're here and we're okay. You need to let go. You need to go live your life. You need to go love. You need to go be a father. You need to go be a better man. Like, go. Stop holding on to us. And it's rad because it wasn't me saying that. At least it didn't feel like it was me saying that. That felt like they were talking to me and they were looking at me and they knew how I felt. And so in that moment, it's like, wow, I'm I'm talking to them, and I fucking miss them so much. And here they are. And not only here they are, but here they are teaching me and giving me some lessons and letting me know it's okay to let go of them and not, hold on so tight. And so that was just, it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And the cool thing too is you go in there, you take the mushrooms, and then there's lessons waiting for you. I had no idea that was coming. I had no idea that I would feel them, that was the lesson that was coming. So that by itself was just like, wow, this is amazing. And then from there, it kind of evolved. Again, we're praying the whole time. So at one point, he prays for the fathers, and my father left when I was very young, so I didn't really have a relationship with him. But I'm a father now, and so in that prayer, like I mourned him, and I mourned that relationship that we didn't have. But I also like loved him in that same prayer, in that same moment. And it was just beautiful because I'd never done that before. I'd never taken time to feel what I really feel or acknowledge it or even think about it. We don't have time, right? It's go work and go bring in the bread and be a man and go work out so you don't get fat. And like, when's the time that I get to like sit with myself and sit with the trauma or sit with the shit that hurts? Never. Never. So this was an opportunity to really just be in there and love and hurt and cry and laugh and all the things that were in there. It was so beautiful. Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I heard you talk a little bit about it before, but I did not know it was as profound as what you just said it was.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And as the ceremony went on and time went on, the lessons kept coming, and they were so different. I went from feeling my friends and then telling me to let go to mourning my father to at some point it felt like the world was just saying, hey, just love everyone. And it was this like undeniable message that just kept pounding into my head. Just love everyone. Just love everyone. Just love everyone. And I was like, okay, I'll just love everyone. Like bad, good, evil, amazing, beautiful, like just love people. And it's so simple, but it's something that I took with me when someone cuts me off on the road and I'm like, you piece of shit. I genuinely really feel like, dude, just love everyone. I don't know what that man's life is today. And it's so simple and it helps me a lot, in my day to day to not be angry at the world, or if someone does something, it's like, fuck, man, don't forget, just love everyone. And so the lessons were everywhere throughout that ceremony. Yeah.
I love that you bring up the road rage situation because that was one of the biggest problems that I had before I found plant medicine. Like, I kid you not, I would be screaming at the top of my lungs, punching the steering wheel, punching the dashboard for the dumbest thing, like getting cut off or somebody speeding up to get around me. And like you said, you have no idea what they're doing. They might be running to the emergency room or something, or their wife might be in labor, and what it has done. And I do find, I get that reset. I have that love everybody feeling that ultimately starts to fade away after these ceremonies. But what I do find is if I do, I'm not punching steering wheels anymore, screaming anymore. But if I do have a situation where somebody cuts me off and I'm like, okay, dummy, all right, asshole, something like that, I immediately think, oh no, why you shouldn't be thinking like that. Like I have a conscience that comes in and says like, oh, come on, man, like give him some slack. Yeah. So it's nice to have that voice in my head now that's like telling me the right way to handle these situations. Yeah.
And you nailed it for me. Like that lesson definitely wears off over time, but I have awareness of it now. Like this blind rage, like you're saying, punching the steering wheel, it's like now I'm quicker to like check myself, quicker to like, hey, that's probably not the best thought to have, or that's not serving you right now. You're on your way to pick up your kids from school. Like you're going to pick them up pissed off. Like, come on, man. Like what are we doing really? Yeah. So it's definitely helped with just the way I navigate the world, the way I see people, good or bad. At the end of the day, it's like, I'm just going to love everyone and do my thing. No one gets in my way, and I'm leading with love and I'm leading with kindness, and that's all I can do. If someone sucks and they're a shitty human, hey man, I'm sending love your way, and I don't have to interact with you, but I also don't have to hate your guts. Yeah. Yeah. So that's been super helpful for me.
Yeah.
And I did combo with you. You graciously served us a combo maybe like 2 weeks before that ceremony. And during that ceremony, there was a lot of moments where my dots or spots or what's the term?
The points.
The
Gates,
points.
yeah.
Yeah. They were pulsating. And so as these lessons were coming through, my combo points were literally pulsating. And it was almost saying like, hey, pay attention. This is important. Something would come and they would pulsate again. Like, hey, make sure you're paying attention. Like, this is really important. So I felt like both medicines were kind of dancing together in some kind of interesting way.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one question was, what was the meal like before you went into the ceremony?
The meal was just family style. It was really cool. Like, people brought fruit, waters, drinks. Shane and his wife, they made like, I think that night was tacos or spaghetti, one of those. And it was just kind of sit around, and it almost felt like the last meal before you go off to like do some crazy shit, which it was like.
Yeah.
Like, there's a calm in the air, and everyone's a little bit scared. I think you're full of shit if you say you're not. That's a big thing we're about to go do. So there's that. Like, yeah, we're laughing and having a good time, but also it's like, dude, in an hour, we're gonna go out and just melt away into the universe, and then it's scary, you know.
Did you see anybody purging? Was there any vomiting during the ceremony?
Yeah. There was, and it's interesting. I always thought purging is like throwing up, but there was so many like different styles of purging. Like, yeah, there was vomiting, but there's like these crazy yawns happening, and some people just like knocked over, and just like all the things, happening around. And I'm glad you brought that up. Like with the combo, I feel like I did all my purging when I did the combo. And so when I noticed the first people start throwing up, again, pulsating points, and they literally said, you've already done this. Now you get to just be here. I already did the purging. That was wild amount of purging that I did here at your house.
Because that was the most profound combo experience I think I've seen to date, at least people that I've worked with. I mean, you went deep in there. Like, you uncovered some stuff that I feel like most people don't get to. Yeah.
And so thank you again for that. But it really felt like I get to be here just for the messages, just for the space knowledge that's about to come my way, because I already purged at Sean's house.
Yeah, I ask because it's interesting for me to hear that they serve food right before, because I always do any plant medicine ceremony. I do fasted just to make sure.
Yeah.
That way, at least I know if I am purging, I'm purging trauma. You know what I mean? It's not something in my stomach that's not sitting well or something like that. Right. And I know there's a lot of negative interactions with, like dairy and psilocybin and that kind of thing. So I was curious what kind of food they served.
Lots of fruit. Lots of fruit. I think they're big on the fruit, but I think more than anything, it's like something special, like sit at a table with someone, right? Like, and that in its own is like, hey, we're going in this together. Like, let's have one last meal together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the little bit of power in that, that kind of outweighs that, maybe it doesn't mix with your tummy. Like,
yeah. So I'm also kind of curious. Am I correct that it's the Luiseno Indian tribe?
Yes.
Did they say, I mean, they have this church established. Did they say that they have a historical usage of mushrooms within the tribe? Did they explain that at all?
Yeah. So, Shane is definitely the guy to talk to on that. But from my understanding, Shane is a staff holder for his tribe. He's gone out to tribes all over the country, and done sweats with them and done ceremonies with them. So he's beyond his tribe, just as a native. He's gone out and he's done the work, and he's met the people and seen the other ceremonies. And I know he definitely, like, this is part of something that his tribe has done, definitely, is the plant medicines and the mushrooms. So that was even special, like, I feel like nowadays, mushrooms are like, oh, here's this cute little gummy and like this chocolate frog or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like this was like, this was the way it's been done for so long. This is the no frills, no bells and whistles, just the earth and the mushrooms and community and people and fire. Like, it's raw and it's authentic and it hasn't been commercialized. And so that feels really special too, to be able to experience something like that. Not like just. Again, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, but I think this is a very special way to do it, to experience this journey like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you cleared that up, because for me, I, tried to do some research. Are there any Native American tribes that ever used mushrooms? And they're not to say that everything is on the internet, but I couldn't find any single instance of a Native American tribe that uses psilocybin mushrooms. And especially if you're talking about traditional Luiseno, which would be in the San Diego area, we don't have the climate for any type of outdoor mushrooms. Even if we had cows around here, it's not humid enough for them to grow. And we don't have the cooler, humid temperatures for like psilocybe cyanescens. That's further north. But I can't write off the fact that like clearly tribes traveled, and if they just made it up to the Bay Area, or if they made it down into Mexico, they would encounter another tribe that could barter and trade these things. So that's not to say that there's no chance that they use them. And I do know in Canada, a lot of the tribes up there have used them as well. So I was kind of curious if they were saying like we have a long-standing history of doing this or not.
Yeah, for that part, I wouldn't have an answer. Right. I just know that there is that, of Shane like going out and traveling and learning and seeing how other tribes are doing it and healing. And he actually said something that was really profound. I was talking to him last week on Zoom, and he's like, people see the tribes and the natives and they're kind of like in a box, but they don't understand, like, we have a lot of the same traumas that everyone in the country has. We have alcoholism, we have veterans that went to war, we have pain and mothers and fathers that aren't present. And so it's not like native trauma, it's human trauma. They just have these other ways of healing, with the Wamkish, with the sweat ceremonies, with the way they navigate the world and pray to Creator and Mother Earth. And so I think it's so beautiful to feel that, because I thought that too, was like, oh, natives, that's their own thing. That's they're on their land and they're fenced off and we don't have access to them. But how like almost naive to think that they don't have the same traumas that we do. People. We're all people. Yeah. So it's kind of beautiful to have them share their space and hey, this is how we do it. Come check it out.
Yeah. Amazing. So you went back, you went for a round two.
I went for a round two. I do want to share though, when the ceremony was over, Shane, he hosed off the fire and just extinguished it completely. And I just remember going, no, like I was in a moment of like, I couldn't tell you what the moment was, but I was deep in there. Like, no, like this isn't fair. Like put it back, please put it back. But he's like, hey brother, we opened up a portal to the spirit world and I can feel like good spirits and bad spirits, and you don't want to leave this shit open too long. Like that bad stuff will make its way to us. They can see us. We're like this huge beacon of light blasting out into space. He's like, I can feel when it's time. And I thought that was really rad that he's so tapped in, his antenna can receive other things that like I'm yet to develop. And that being one of them was like, oh shit, there's bad spirits too, of course. Like, let's shut this down.
Is he taking the mushrooms as well? And
yes.
Is it the same dosage? Or?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. He's in there with us, same mushroom dosage, and we're all in there together. Something I forgot to mention is during the ceremony, we're smoking a lot of cannabis. I think the first ceremony, we must have had like 40, I'm not exaggerating, maybe 40 or 50 joints and blunts rolled up. And so as the ceremony's going, he's just passing cannabis like nonstop the whole time, just passing joints to each other. And it sounds like a lot, but I think what it did, and he didn't have to say this for me to realize it, was every time someone was passing me the joint, I made a connection. I saw their eyes. I was like, oh God, another human's here. Thank God. Like, thank you. I see you. I love you. You reconnect with a human. It almost keeps you sane. It almost keeps you grounded to earth and to where you're at. It feels like lifetimes in there, but the whole time we're passing cannabis joints around, and every time the person to my left would hand it to me, like, oh, thank God, because I've been staring at this fire and I'm like losing it. Like there's just so much happening. And every time I'm like, okay, ground with another human, look into their eyes, feel that they're here too with you, that connection. So that in itself, I thought was also like super powerful to be able to do that, because you don't think that when someone hands you a joint, you're like, oh, thanks for the joint. But in this moment, it's like, thank you for being here. Thank you for looking at me and connecting with your eyes with mine and bringing me back, almost making me feel safer.
Yeah.
So that was also so pretty profound. But when he extinguished that fire, you're still gone. I mean, just because the ceremony's over doesn't mean that the psilocybin all of a sudden is out of your system. And I walked to the tent. I looked up into the sky and I like disappeared into the stars. Like I became like the Silver Surfer. I was heel toeing like the galaxies. I was surfing the stars and I was laughing and I just couldn't believe like these stars are always here and here I am a part of it. And I was shredding. I was like, it was so fun. It almost felt like, hey, you did a lot of hard work in the Wampkish. Here's like a reward. Here's go have fun. Go have fun with the universe. Go surf the stars. And I did that till the sun came up. Like I was, even people were like, dude, we would look out of the tent. We would just see like a body just standing outside of the tent looking up all night. Like I didn't come in the whole night. I was just surfing the stars. I was like, oh yeah, that was me. Like people are like already trying to sleep. Like, no, how could I sleep? Look at these stars. Like, what are you guys doing? Come surf with me. So yeah, that was the whole night. And then the next day we do the sweat ceremony, which in itself is like, it's a whole other experience. You know, it's put the sweat lodge together, light the grandpas on fire and heat them up, and then go in there and pray again. Like it always comes back down to prayer and being humble and saying, hey, I don't know anything. I need help. I need help to be a better father. I need help to be a better person, better brother, better anything. Like it just never ends, that asking for help, asking and being okay with where we're at and accepting where we're at and just doing, I don't know, the sweat was equally as profound in my experience. No mushrooms, no nothing, just raw bodies burning alive, you know, head in the dirt to breathe and find, you know, some kind of breath and prayer. So it's just everything about it is beautiful.
So you go back.
So I go back. Yeah, I go back. I went back a second time, maybe 3 or 4 months after. And I think the real reason I went back is I felt like I had just touched the surface of what I was feeling. I just touched the surface. Like, yeah, I healed some things with brothers that I lost and my dad and myself. But I was like, okay, that's not it. There's so much more darkness in there. There's so much more pain in there. So I went back and it was scary the second time around for me because I knew what to expect this time around. I knew that insanity feeling when it hits. I knew that the fire and it's burning and it's hot and it's uncomfortable sometimes. But the second time around, it felt more like that same lesson of just love everyone kept coming in. I don't, with that one, to be honest, I don't remember too much. I feel like I just melted away. But if I do take something out of it, it was that feeling again of like, dude, just love everyone. Just love people over and over and over. Almost like I was feeling mad. It was maddening. Like almost like, shut the fuck up already. Like, this is too much.
I got it.
Yeah, I got it. Exactly. But it was the same, you know, same beautiful ceremony, same going to the mountain, getting the cedars and collecting the rocks, and that didn't change. And I thought that was really beautiful. It's like, hey, every time we do this, there's a process and there's things we have to recognize, and we're going to go say thank you to the trees, and we're going to go say thank you to the water. And I think everyone should kind of implement that in one way or another, you know, like we're so busy. It's like, we don't stop to say like, thank you, tree, for oxygen.
That, I mean, how often people put their hands in the dirt, the grounding, the being with nature is so rare in our society, especially people that live in major cities. And I think just that is therapeutic in itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. But again, that second time around was just equally as intense, equally as, it's a lot of mushrooms. It's a lot.
Did the dose change between number 1 and number 2?
No, it was same.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that one. I really do feel like I just disappeared completely. And I remember thinking like, is this, because I've got kids, and when I got back, I was like, is this the lifetime where I have kids? Like I really had to think about it because I felt like I just completely just disappeared into everything. And so when I got back, I was like, fuck, I don't know if I have kids. I think I do, but I'm not sure. And I it took like an hour to like, okay, I do have kids.
Did they do any kind of formal integration circle the next day or anything like that?
I know that Colin and Veterans Walk and Talk definitely has been good about like getting together, and they have done like fire circles there, like no mushrooms, would just sit around the fire and talk. So that is definitely something that exists, and it has.
But it wasn't part of the next morning you wake up, you immediately talk about what you experienced. They didn't do that.
I think that just comes up naturally. You know,
Right.
we woke up, we have breakfast, we get the sweat ceremony ready, and like, how are you feeling? You know,
Yeah.
what came up for you? But as far as like official, like let's sit down and integrate.
Right.
I think that's something that everyone could work on a little bit more to find that, because you got to talk about this shit.
Absolutely.
You have to.
And that's why I like this podcast, is because when you have to recall what you went through, oftentimes you'll pick up details. You're like, I forgot about that. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like it helps to keep it coming back up and reinforcing those messages of don't punch the dashboard, love everybody, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary. You know, it's one thing to have these experiences, but it's almost like, what did you do it for if you're not going to integrate? What did you
Exactly.
do it for if you're not going to take the lessons out of it? Then it was just like a crazy experience you had. Fucking learn something from it. You know, take something from it. Heal a little bit. You know, that's definitely something that I felt like. I felt like my heart was a little bit more secure. My soul felt a little bit more love for myself, for everyone. And it's like, oh, this is what healing feels like. You know, it hurts and it's hard and it's difficult. And I didn't want to look at a lot of the shit that came up, but you have to. How else are you going to fix stuff? How else are you going to repair things? Like,
Right. Do you want to keep suffering through life, or do you want to let it go? I know too many people that are like, I don't want to find the demons that are in there. If I have buried, suppressed trauma, I don't want to find it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
show it all to me and get it the hell out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done with it. I don't need it to be a part of my life anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I know we were maybe talking about going to 5-MeO, but I think that's something that really came up. If you want to go there, I don't know.
Let's wrap this one up,
Okay.
and we'll do a separate one, because I'd just like to drop it as 2 separate episodes.
Heard.
But that being said, yeah, any veterans that hear this, you know, these opportunities come about because we found Veterans Walk and Talk, and that's how
Yeah.
I met Will, and that's how I met so many of these people that are going to be on this podcast. So, you know, we have a huge population of veterans here in San Diego and across the country. But if you are somewhere where there is a Walk and Talk location, look up VWAT. They're on all the social media accounts. Find out if there's one in your area. Maybe you start one up, you know, whatever it takes. But these opportunities come to the members who are in this, and the 5-MeO that we're going to get into in the next episode. We only had this opportunity because of Colin and Veteran Walk and Talk. So
Yeah.
if you're feeling these sorts of ways, or you just want to feel better and you're a veteran, reach out to these organizations and get the help that you need. That's why I have this podcast. That's what I think my life's goal is from this point forward, is to help veterans out and just get people the help that they need. So check out Walk and Talk. And until the next episode, thanks for being here, Will. I love you, man. Really appreciate you coming on.
I love you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I love all you listeners. So yeah, take care. Till the next one.